Hey everybody, it's MommaOG. I am back with another reaction. Can hardly contain myself. Today I am listening to another song by Angine de Poitrine. The song I chose to do today is called Sherpa. This one is also live on KEXP. Now I caught a lot of flack on Fabiank for being so anxious about it. I'm not anxious today about this. I'm more excited than anything. I have to admit that this one has kind of sunk its hooks in me deeply, this group. I am extremely fascinated. I believe that most of what they're doing goes completely over my head, but I love it. A couple of you made comments that you literally watched my brain be rewired in my last reaction to them, and I would have to agree to that. That definitely happened. And I haven't been able to get that song out of my head. If you haven't seen it, I even posted a picture of me waking up the other day. I woke up with polka dots on my face. No, I'm just kidding. I was originally going to use that picture as a thumbnail, screenshot of myself on my thumbnail for Fabiank, but I decided against it. So I thought I would post it on my community page just for fun. And it was fun. Now, a couple of you also said that you hope I'll talk a little bit more about the microtonal aspects of this music. And while I would say I would absolutely love to go into detail about that subject, I am afraid I'm a bit ignorant on it. What I do know and what I should have caught on to visually was how different that guitar and that bass were. The fretboard on that, the frets were much closer together, and those type of guitars, from what I understand, are rare. And I mentioned something about odd notes, odd choices of notes. Those were the microtones, because those guitars can play notes that regular guitars cannot. So that is my knowledge of microtonal, and all I know is that they use that in their music. I'm finding the whole absurdist vibe to be incredibly fun. Normally I don't really take to that kind of thing. But between the costumes and some of the things, the wording, even some of the things that some of their biggest fans on my reaction have said in their comments have been a lot of fun. It's just some stuff that does not exist in the normal world that just kind of helps me get outside of the bubble of what is this normal world. And I would have to say, based on my one reaction and one listen to one song, there is something else going on with these two that doesn't exist either in this realm, on this plane, on this planet. I know part of the absurdist thing, maybe some play into that, but I genuinely feel like there is something. Paranormal is the wrong word to use because that makes you think of spooky ghosts and stuff. But there's something above the normal level going on here. Otherworldly. I don't know if it's inspiration that they've gotten or just the fact that they are so incredibly talented that they can portray themselves almost to be alien because we've never seen or heard anything like this before. One final thing, and then I'll stop yapping. I was sent a link to a podcast. Somebody said, this will explain everything you need to know. And I took notes. Just want to read those because I thought some of it was just fucking awesome. So what I wrote here, these are very rough notes. The podcast mentioned Eastern music. Don't want to copy it, but want to do something different with it. Very danceable music despite time signatures. Costume started as a trick in a gig, a prank, but a way to open doors. creativity and ideas by their absurdity, a source of creative stimulation. Anonymity allows them to be normal people. They talked a lot about this. They can blend in normally and get genuine reactions from people, not just hyped up reactions because someone knows who they are. They can have normal conversations instead of compliments becoming repetitive. They want to stay human and not a consumer product. The dollar signs in the eyeballs reflect this. So yes, that was quite an informative podcast that I listened to. And that helped kind of give me a little bit of insight into them personally. So that was awesome. Before we get started, if there's something specific you'd like me to react to, you can click on a donation link down in the description. Send along the information of what you'd like me to hear, and I will get it added to my list. Also, I take notes while I am reacting. So if you see me looking down, just jotting down a couple of things so that I don't forget what I want to say when it's time to talk. This might be a bit of a different situation. I might need to pause it and go back a little bit. I don't know. I'm just going to go with the flow and see where it takes us. I've got my earbuds in. Let's go.
Apprécie les avantages qu'apporte ce mode de construction. Par exemple, son confort thermique. La maison reste fraîche en été et garde la chaleur l'hiver.
This new melody part on the guitar sounding Middle Eastern to me a little bit. I don't know, but I used to casually belly dance, and it's jumping out as kind of a Middle Eastern vibe. Totally. Do I hear some vocals in there? Completely reminding me of Middle Eastern music.
Discover new music at listener-powered KEXP.org.
Holy F buckets. I've never taken so many notes. I've got 2.5 pages. God, where do I start? The shifts in the timing and the intensity were kind of what locked me in. It's just so strange because this music, none of it is traditional. None of it is what you know, oh, I'm going to sit down and listen to a new song. When you sit down to listen to something, you expect it to sound like your normal, kind of not necessarily run-of-the-mill music, because there's plenty that's not run-of-the-mill. But even the stuff that's not run-of-the-mill, this is kind of above and beyond that. In a different way. Because if I start talking about certain bands that are not just normal music, and then I say these guys are above and beyond that level, I'm going to get canceled. But I don't necessarily mean it that they're above and beyond that. They're just different. Like, it's kind of an evolution of these bands that I would say are above and beyond. I mentioned Tool. There's Rush. they're just bands that do things differently. And these guys are included in that. It's just maybe an evolution of that process. If you go back into the days of like Bach and Beethoven and the greats, and then you come to the 70s and you hear Rush. Rush is an evolution of the Bach and Beethovens, in my opinion. They're doing not your run-of-the-mill music, but it's just evolved since then. It's a different type, and I feel like this is progressive, just like those bands I mentioned, but it's just an evolution of that for the times. But it's weird for the present time, but we're only hearing them present time.
That you want.
This stuff feels like somebody went ahead 50 years, pulled them out, and brought them back to us. I feel like a dumbass saying some of these things, but this is just the only way I can think to describe what I'm trying to convey. Just like the great progressive bands of the 70s, it kind of goes against the grain of everything I thought I knew about music, which is amazing. I love it when this happens. It's weird, but it's wonderful. It's weird because it's different, but I also happen to embrace weirdness. Like, I'm weird. I embrace other people's weird as long as it's not scary and dangerous. I think weird is good. I recognized the parts where they were talking a little bit in there. I learned from the last video that they were indeed talking during those times when I thought I was hearing vocals. I didn't say enough in the last video about the drummer. I mean, he is just as talented as the guitarist, because he is kind of, in certain spots, he's playing right along with the rhythm of the guitar. You know, drummers are the backbone of any song, as are bass players. The bass lines and drumming are some of my favorite things in songs to pay attention to. There's just all these little quirky things that they put in their songs. I saw him deliberately hold up his foot and get ready to press a button, and it was just a buzz sound. It was just something I noticed. It was different. I heard some Middle Eastern guitar in there, which I think I've mentioned. I was casual belly dancer, so that it's going to punch me in the face, always. I think one of the biggest things, and I noticed the looping in the first video, noticed it in this one, but what I didn't get a chance to touch on last time that just also punched me in the face in this one was the amount of layering with this looping. I mean, has anybody ever counted how many layers of loops that he puts with, you know, the various ways he plays the guitar and the bass? Because I was just saying, oh my God, he just added another one, and now he's playing something else on top of that. And then he goes and plays something else, and I'm still hearing what he just got done playing, plus what he played before that. And then before that, there's just so many layers. And then you've got all these microtonal, or as I said, them odd note choices on top of that that are just working perfectly for some weird reason. It doesn't make sense to me on the surface because of what we all expect when we sit down to hear music. But I don't know. I might already be a little addicted. Obsessed? I don't know if that's the right word. Just extremely intrigued, and I keep using that word. I used it last time, but it's fascinating. And I just never knew this kind of thing was possible. Yikes. One of the layering things that I saw was that he was doing a little Eddie Van Halen action. And then even one of the last layers was like some serious solo guitar work. But he's still playing all that previous stuff that he had recorded and looped. It's just boggles the mind how someone could sit down and think of all this and have it work so beautifully. I said in my last reaction to Fabian that I think I'm going to have to hear this a few more times to fully grasp everything they're doing. That was an understatement. Like I may listen to this stuff for a year and still not fully grasp what's going on here. You know, and the fact that it's classified as math rock just immediately kind of makes me shrink in my, like, okay, I'm not going to get this. I'm not an idiot. I'm not stupid. I know math. I can do math. But when it comes to applying math to music, yeah, way over my head. It's fun to listen to, though. It's amazing to listen to. And I've heard a couple of Tool songs that were done that way. You know, time signatures and different note rhythms, and it's just not what you expect to hear, but I find myself accepting it anyway. Which, you know, sometimes when things we're not accustomed to, you're just kind of like, nah, I don't feel, you know, that's not in my comfort zone. I'm going to shove it off to the side. But I will say, one of the biggest things I've learned doing this channel, and, you know, it'll be 2 years this summer, you have to have an extremely open mind to do this authentically. Thank God I've always had a really open mind when it comes to all kinds of music. I find, you know, being authentic and being myself in these videos is really something that I said, you know, if that ever starts to change, I'm going to be done, because like I couldn't sleep at night. But there are some people out there that are just doing this for clicks and views and reacting to the most popular stuff. Just kind of, some of them you can tell they really don't like it, but they try to find words, stumble over their own words to say good things about it. But they're not, their minds are not open to it. And that makes it very hard to stay authentic when you're doing stuff like this. Like, I've been in the reaction world on YouTube for several years now. My other channel was doing nothing but watching other people react to music they've never heard. And I've gotten good at kind of reading people that do this. In my opinion, having an open mind makes it a lot easier to just be completely honest. And if you don't have an open mind to different types of music, this is not something that you're going to take to. And if you're finding that most people are taking to it, there's probably something else going on there. And that's all I'm going to say. But the last thing that I wanted to touch on is that the noses were not as off-putting this time. And yes, in the first video, they were extremely phallic. But I have since heard them referred to as, you know, kind of a metronome and just fun little sayings about the noses, but they're not as off-putting this time. I didn't find myself kind of going, what the fuck? You know, and just, I couldn't stop watching it in the first video, and it just reminded me of something that I shouldn't be thinking about during a music reaction. Maybe that's the point, part of the point. That was incredible. I'm going to have to listen to that 1,000 more times to fully grasp what was going on there. I just want to take a moment to thank all of you. On that first reaction, you guys really showed up and gave me an amazing amount of information, encouragement, and support on this new journey that I'm on. So I really appreciate that. Thank you all for coming back to watch this one. And I will see you on the next one. You better give me that ball. Give me the ball. Gimme.